I am exposing Uber earnings. A lot of drivers don't realize that they're earning less than minimum wage, less than a living wage. Your Uber app shows that you made $150 today. That feels like a win, right? But let me ask you something. What if you subtract 4 things that you're paying for on every single ride that you take? How much of that $150 is actually yours to keep? This exact math is why I started planning my Uber exit plan. My goal in 2026 is to stop driving for Uber and LYFT. By the end of this video, you will see how much Uber and LYFT drivers are actually making. Welcome to Mastering the Rideshare Game. This is episode 7. Chapter 1. The gross pay trap. I'm going to show you Uber app earnings are revenue, not income. Chapter 2. Gas is the cost you feel every day. I am going to break down real gas math using my SUV as an example so you can see how much you are paying in gas every single mile. Chapter 3. Maintenance and wear is the cost drivers ignore. I'll show you how wear and tear stacks up mile by mile and how you can calculate your own numbers. Chapter 4. Depreciation is the silent money leak. How high mile rideshare driving accelerates depreciation and why when some drivers say I'll deal with it later is a bad idea. Chapter 5. Insurance is the cost nobody prices correctly. I will show you how to convert your insurance bill into a per mile cost so you stop underpricing your trips. Chapter 6. Your true cost per mile. The line in the sand. This is the chapter where everything comes together. The 4 costs that I just explained, we will put them all together to see if you're earning money or if you're driving Uber and LYFT for free. Chapter 7. Converting miles into real hourly pay. Per mile math can feel a little abstract. So in this chapter, we're going to convert it into an hourly pay. I will show you what a normal driving day pays per hour and the answers will shock you.
rideXserve.
Chapter 1. The gross pay trap. When the Uber or LYFT app says you've made $150 today, have you ever thought about how much of that $150 actually goes in your pocket? Most drivers think of that number as if it's income, but it is not your income. That number is revenue, and there is a huge difference. Revenue is what Uber shows you. Profit is what's left after gas, maintenance, wear and tear, and insurance. Uber makes it feel like a paycheck, but you're running a business, and a business has expenses. When you gross about $1 a mile, you will be shocked to find out when we do the math and we do the numbers that almost half of that is gone before taxes. No, not because Uber is stealing, but running a rideshare business has operating costs. If you are not keeping the full $150, then what's the first cost that is eating away from your earnings? Chapter 2. Gas is the cost you feel every day. You don't need a degree in accounting to figure this out. The question is not if gas is costing you money, it's how much per mile it's quietly taking before you even make any profit. Let me put it in real numbers with a setup or a car that you might be driving right now. Vehicle 2021 Toyota Highlander. Fuel economy 20 miles per gallon. Gas price $4 per gallon. Actual math. $4 divided by 20 miles per gallon equals 20 cents per mile. Did you understand that? Gas alone is taking 20 cents per mile on an SUV. That means 20% of your earnings are gone. Now, don't panic. This isn't even the scary part. Gas is just the first bite. Later in the video, I'll show you the true number that your car is taking from your earnings. And once you see it, you'll never look at $1 per mile the same way. Another way to look at it is if you're driving 150 miles a day, $30 is gone in gas alone. Now, this is just the first cost that eats your earnings immediately. The first hour or two you drive isn't for you, it's just paying for gas. But gas isn't the sneaky one. The next cost doesn't hurt you today, it hurts later. Let me unpack that for you. Chapter 3, Maintenance and Wear is the cost drivers ignore. A lot of drivers ignore maintenance and wear and tear until it all shows up at once. My advice on this is to plan for it and put money away every single day. Maintenance and wear and tear eat away around 15 cents per mile if you are driving Uber and Lyft full time. Let me break it down. No, I'm not just talking about oil changes or tires and brakes. I'm talking about all the expenses that are gonna come up if your car doesn't get to rest. For an SUV doing this kind of work, 15 cents a mile is safe. But if you're driving a different car, you can definitely adjust this number a little bit. You might be thinking, I don't need to pay that today, so I'll deal with it later. No, wrong. That's the point of this video, is to bring information that you should be thinking about every time you take a ride that is under $1 a mile. Here's how you will get your own numbers. Actual math. What you spent on maintenance/repairs last year divided by miles you drove last year equals maintenance cost per mile. Basically, take all the money you spent on maintenance last year and divide that by the miles that you drove last year, and you will get a realistic estimate. That number is your maintenance cost per mile, and it hits all at once if you don't plan for this per mile on every single trip that you take. Put a little bit away, my friends. Maintenance is debt your car builds quietly mile by mile. I have already put away $10,000 for my next car because in the last 8 years of driving Uber, I'm about to go on my 4th car. And I learned this the hard way. But you don't have to learn this the hard way if you plan for this. Gas drains your money. Maintenance drains your money. But the next cost steals value from your car every single mile. Chapter 4. Depreciation is the silent money leak. When I first started driving for Uber, I didn't even know what depreciation was. I said, you know what? I'll deal with it later. I can't figure this out. It was too confusing for me. Depreciation is the cost that does not hurt today, but it's the one we quietly feel every single day. Let me show you how to calculate this for yourself. Actual math. Value lost over the years plus miles driven equals depreciation per mile. $44,000 divided by 400,000 miles equals 11 cents per mile. Over the life of this car, I've almost driven 400,000 miles. When I purchased the car, it was supposed to be $42,000. By the time I pay it off, it'll be around $48,000. But right now, when I try to trade it in, my car is only worth $4,000 or $5,000. So the real number here is around $44,000. When you divide that by the 400,000 miles I've driven, that's how I got 11 cents. You can use the same math to figure out your depreciation value for your car. Trust me, our cars are worth nothing by the time we are done driving Uber and Lyft full time. That's depreciation. Your car loses value no matter what, as long as you're putting miles on it. That's why it's smarter and better to buy a used car, not a new car like me. I was a numbnut. You don't feel depreciation today. You feel it when you try to replace your car. I used to think I'll deal with it later when it's time to sell the car. No, my friends, because when it's time to sell your car, you're gonna get a lower value for your car. You're gonna have less money for a down payment, which means the next car you get is gonna be a higher monthly payment. Not worth it. And if this math on depreciation and what I've been teaching you in this video hurts a little bit, that is okay. Go ahead and subscribe so I can keep teaching you about the rideshare industry and how to exit and stop driving for Uber and Lyft. If you're interested in that, please consider subscribing. Gas drains cash. Maintenance quietly stacks up. Depreciation steals money from you. But there's still one more cost you need to think about. Let me go over that next. Chapter 5. Insurance is the cost nobody prices correctly. You might be thinking insurance is just a monthly bill. But don't treat insurance like a monthly bill, but try to figure it out how much it's costing you per mile so you can understand how to take better trips and better rides. Insurance does not care if you had a good day in earnings or a bad day in earnings. It charges you every mile, just like gas, just like maintenance, just like depreciation. Let me break it down for you. Actual math, $300 plus 5,000 miles equals 6 cents per mile. I pay around $300 a month in my insurance cost. And these days I'm driving around 5,000 miles per month. I'm deliberately trying to keep my miles low on the car. Now, if you do the math, just like the formula I showed you, for me, it comes out to around 6 cents a mile. For you, it might be a little bit more or a little bit less, but please do try to figure this cost out for yourself. If you don't convert insurance to cost per mile, you're underpricing every trip. If you made it this far in the video, now you know the 4 main costs that you need to consider when you're driving for Uber and Lyft. Gas, maintenance, depreciation, insurance. Alone, they don't look that scary, but when you put them all together, it's a whole different ballgame. Chapter 6. Your true cost per mile, the line in the sand. Remember in chapter 2, I said I'll show you the full number that changes everything? Well, here it is. If you don't know this number, it's hard to tell if the ride you're taking is profitable. Let's stack these 4 expenses or costs and make it simple, silly simple for you. Gas is about 20 cents per mile. Maintenance and wear is about 15 cents per mile. Depreciation is about 10 cents per mile. Insurance is about 5 cents per mile. Add all of that up and roughly you get around 50 cents per mile. Now the app is not going to tell you this information voluntarily, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to teach you here. Half of the money that you make when you're taking rides for $1 per mile are not really your revenue. They are not your earnings. I want you to hear this clearly. 50 cents per ride is not extra. That is what it's costing you to drive for Uber and Lyft, especially if you have an SUV. So if you are grossing around $1 a mile, which we hardly see these days, half of that is gone. 50 cents goes to the car, or 50% of your earnings. 50 cents that's left, or 50% before taxes, is what you are earning. If a job paid this hourly rate without tips, most people would quit on day one. Think about this for a second. Half the money you earn is lost because your car is taking it. On top of that, Uber and Lyft are taking 70% of the money that the riders are giving. That essentially leaves you with around 15% to live off of, to pay your bills, to survive. That math is exactly the reason why 2 years ago I stopped driving for Uber and Lyft. I slowed it down and I started my course, Start Your Own Rideshare Business. It's the first link in the description. Check it out. Start taking private rides. Start building your own private clients so you get to keep 100% of the money. Not 15%, not 50%, but 100% of what you charge you get to keep, and you can survive on that kind of money. Now you know 50%, half your money is gone when you're driving for Uber and Lyft. But what does that translate into per hour? That's coming up next. Chapter 7, converting miles into real hourly pay. All right, now you've got the cost per mile. Now let me ask you, after your real costs per mile, what are you actually making per hour? We're gonna keep it simple and use a normal, typical day when we're driving. Say you drive around 150 miles a day, and in the app, you're gonna gross around $150. Gross. From the last chapter, you know that pre-tax 50 cents or 50% of that is gone. That $150 gross is not your pay, that is your revenue. Here's what you're left with car costs. $150 multiplied by 50 cents equals $75. Now let's turn that into hourly. If that day took you 10 hours, $75 divided by 10 hours equals $7.50 an hour. If that day took you 8 hours, $75 divided by 8 hours equals about $9.30 an hour. The app pays like a paycheck, but after you do the real numbers, you realize you're getting paid like an intern. And remember, that's still before you pay your personal taxes. And that doesn't include the future hit you're gonna take when you have to replace your car. This is just a reality check for you. If Uber paid you as an employee, half of these costs would be illegal to push onto you, but as an independent contractor, they disappear into silence. You are earning below a minimum wage, a living wage. And no, you are not lazy, not because you're doing something wrong, because the math that I showed you in this video proves it. Once I saw 2 years ago what I was really earning in Uber, I stopped driving. I slowed it down. I started this YouTube channel so I can help more drivers realize this. It was a rude awakening. I would love to hear from you. Do you have an exit plan for Uber or Lyft? Do you know how you're gonna earn money outside Uber and Lyft? Please let me know in the comments. Not only will it motivate me, but it will also encourage other drivers. Please comment below, because one honest answer from you can actually help another driver think a little differently. Now we're gonna wrap up this video and I'm gonna give you a little bit of information and some takeaways from this video. 2 years ago, my best friend Alex sat me down and forced me to do the math and look at these numbers, just what I just taught you. When I saw the real hourly pay, I got sick, I got disgusted. That is when I started planning my exit from Uber and Lyft. My exit plan is simple. Put in less hours in the app, drive less for Uber and Lyft, do more private rides, build more private clients, learn to make money outside of Uber so I'm spending less time on the road, and hence you have this Uber channel. You have my course, Start Your Own Rideshare Business, which is linked in the description, right? These are the things that I started doing to exit Uber. At my peak as a driver on Uber and Lyft, I could easily make $1,500 to $2,000 a week. Now, a few years later, on purpose, I try to restrict my income on Uber and Lyft to less than $500 a week. Force myself to stop driving for these greedy corporations. And this isn't because the demand is lower or I gave up. No, the math proves that driving for Uber and Lyft is a lost cause. In the long run, you're going to kill your car. God forbid you get into an accident, or hell, somebody can do something to you and you can end up in the hospital and you might not even be able to drive. Why wait for something bad to happen? Why not make this decision on your own when you can, while you're healthy? Uber and Lyft don't want drivers to think this way. They want you to keep driving, keep learning from you, so their technology or their algorithms can eventually replace you with robots. And then what? Then what are you going to do? Ask yourself that question. And I continue to share all this information so you don't learn the hard way, the way I learned. The 7 lessons from this video. Number 1, gross pay is not your income, it is revenue. Number 2, gas is the first bill you pay every single day. Number 3, maintenance is delayed debt, not optional. Number 4, depreciation sells your car 1 mile at a time. Number 5, insurance must be priced in per mile, not per month. Number 6, 50 cents per mile or 50% of your earnings are gone. Number 7, after your costs, most drivers are barely making $7 to $9 per hour. In episode 8, I'm going to show you how to look at your offers that show up on Trip Radar. How to ignore the noise and the distractions and the unnecessary information, and look at a couple of things to quickly make a decision if you should take this ride or if you should pass on this ride. I will walk you through some real examples so you can practice a little before you hit the road. If this video helped you, the next one is even better. Click the video on the screen for episode 8 and I will see you there.